What's going on, Broncos Country? How we all doing today? My name is Kev Dan. Welcome to Bourbon Broncos No BS. This offseason update, Spotty and I are here with you to break down all the Broncos news that's been happening since basically the Super Bowl, the last time we saw you guys. David will be here later to provide some of his keen and very gentlemanly insights. He's a blast, Spotty. Like, you're awesome, but David just brings this low-level energy to the team that I love.
I don't know. Add intellect, man. He has intellect.
He does. Well, guys, start posting your comments and questions in the chat. Let's start talking about things. We're only going to be here for about an hour, and we have a lot to talk about, starting with free agency moves, with the number one that we all want to talk about and have inputs on is Russell Wilson leaving the team. Spotty, did you see what Russ did today? Did you see what he posted?
I didn't.
He posted a video, and we'll get into this a little bit more later, but he posted this video of him working out in the Steelers weight room, right? With these big dark sunglasses on. Like, just the most cringe thing you could imagine. Like, you're just like well, just not, maybe not the most cringe thing, but just like Russell level cringe, classy. Him doing these workouts, sunglasses on, middle of the day or middle of the weight room and stuff. It's just weird. Anyway, I don't miss that, but glad all of you guys are here. Make sure you hit that share button. We got Anthony, Shane, Jerry. You guys are all awesome. Thanks for hopping in here and posting some comments. Let's start talking about it, Spotty. Broncos do not really have a quarterback right now. We have Stidham. I'm going to go and say that we don't have a quarterback right now. What you think, buddy?
Well, I first want to mention that I decided to put my Russell Wilson jersey on today in hopes that my work would see it and pay me a lot of money to work for somebody else. So a man can dream. I can really dream. I can hope. But we knew what was going to happen when it came to this Russell situation, and it still feels like a hurricane. The amount of I don't know, just grief and relief and happiness and sadness, and all in just one ball of confusion for the Broncos fan. I will say, though, that low key, probably one of the best things the Broncos could have done was to make it so that the first part of his contract is going to be gone, is like a larger part is going to be done earlier rather than later. So, yay, go Jared Stidham.
No, just no. Like, I don't know. Find somebody else, like anybody else. Jared Stidham is just. We saw what he's capable of. Look, he's better than me. Not going to argue that, right? He's an NFL quarterback. He's playing at his ceiling. Let's just be honest, right? So, we'll talk more about, draft rumors and stuff like that. How much of this is just big smoke screens versus what we think might actually happen. But you're right. Russell Wilson leaving, obviously they did it in the best way they could in terms of being good for us, the team. I would much rather have just 1 year of eating 58 million in dead cap space or something like that, 35 the second year versus 45 and 45 or something like that. So let's just get this year out of the way. We're rebuilding anyway. And finally, I can say this looks like a real, truthful rebuild. Okay.
They haven't said the word yet. They haven't said the word.
Well, you know why they won't say the word. You know why? It's all about that money. As soon as you tell them, as soon as you put in the press, we are in a rebuild. If anybody on the staff says that, tickets will plummet. People won't show. They'll still have the sellout games. They'll be like, oh, we've sold out, but they'll have 10, 15, 20,000 no shows. It's just not, they're not going to admit that. So you got, looking at what they're doing and who they're cutting, who they're moving, how they're making, the thought process behind the moves they're making all points to a truthful rebuild.
See, this is one of those moments that I really miss Jared, because I feel like we need his energy to come in and say, you know what? Jared Stidham knows Peyton's system. He's going to do better, or at least the same. So, like, I need that. Like, we need to channel that in somehow, and give me a little extra oomph going into the draft or even into the season, with the possibility of Jared being the quarterback for the Broncos.
I'm telling you what, I don't care if the Broncos are 0-8 halfway through the season. Jared comes back. We are going to have a huge party here at Orange Weekly. For those of you who don't know, just our friend Jared, co-host, co-founder, he's currently serving the nation out at sea. Not everyone's as cool to be able to serve in the Air Force, and that's fine. He's still doing his part. Someone's got to do it. He's doing it incredibly well. So from all of us here, Bourbon Broncos and OBS, we miss him. Hope he's doing well, and appreciate all of his service to the country. So, and for anybody else watching who might be a service member or veteran as well, thank you. So appreciate everything. Going back to Russell Wilson here. I'm interested in that. If you remember back to when this was kind of all kicking off near the end of the season, all of the injury part of the contract, the way it played out with Russ sitting the last 2 games, it sounded like they were looking into suing the NFL, suing the Broncos for the way they handled the situation, or at least doing an investigation. That's completely disappeared. I don't know if you've heard of any updates, but now that I'm thinking about it, man, it's like that whole part just starting to get kind of weird. And it's like, oh, how far are we going to go down this rabbit hole? They're kind of like, nah, never mind. We're good.
No, that was just crazy how it disappeared. It was like a he said, she said situation for the longest time. And, for an organization, I felt like the Broncos were just kind of like, we had a conversation with his representatives, and they took it what they thought it was going to be, and they took it in a different route. So there's a big part of me right now that believes that Russell was a little bit of a drama queen when it came to it, or at least he wanted to shed some new light on himself, to change the narrative, to make himself look better. Because let's be honest, he also took that smite right into his contract with the Steelers, where he could have absolutely gotten more money, and then the Broncos would have had to pay him less. But no. Russ said it, and there was all those reports were saying he wasn't going to take a bigger contract, so that the Broncos would have to eat a lot more of that money.
I just at that point, you're punishing the fans more than anything else, So that's where I question, why? What are you getting out of that? You don't look better. You don't have a better reputation. Obviously, people don't care about that. They just care if you win games or not, which he has shown over the last 2 years he cannot do. And we'll see what happens under the Steelers. But, man, that's just, with everything that Russ portrayed himself to be is, this really kind, caring guy. I'm not saying that he's not. I'm not saying he's some asshole or anything like that. But, at what point do you say enough's enough? I'm not punishing anyone really other than the fans, So he made his point. His point got across. I guess he was within his right to do it. So, okay, you did it, man. When you come to town this season, I hope we just wallop you. I did 5-6 sacks right on your ass.
Well, I don't think it's going to be another Hackett thing. We're going to talk a lot of smack, and then Hackett came in, and the freaking Jets beat us. I learned my lesson. My issue with it is he's going to go to a team, and guess what? What's the best thing about the Steelers team? I can go ahead and tell you, it's not going to be the offense. 100%, it's not going to be about the offense.
Yeah. No, I learned my lesson. With everything that happened last year with Hackett, I learned to keep my tongue.
I know.
Bite my tongue a little bit more. So I'm still going to be critical of Wilson and everything going into the game, but I'm going to hold off on making any major comments until the game's over, just so that I don't have to, backtrack as much as I did this last time. Not to say that Hackett's any good. We saw that he's not, but that game, it's like, why? Why do you just you're not going to win many games this year, Broncos. Like, pick the really important ones. Okay. You got the Chiefs knocked out, but we could have beaten Hackett, and just saved ourselves so much embarrassment.
Oh, well, there was a lot of embarrassment, especially near the end of the year there. So
let's see. We got more comments. Somebody asked here about, we'll get to more of the free agents moves and possibilities at quarterback later on. So I will come back to this comment, but another big player that's gone, people are talking about in the comments, and guys, appreciate the comments. Keep them coming in. Jerry Jeudy gone over to Cleveland and saying something along the lines of, not quoting him here, I'm glad to be in a place that wants me. Appreciate that I'm here.
He's not in a better spot.
Sure.
I'm not sure if that's a better spot.
He didn't say it was a better spot. He said it's
okay.
He's got to be somewhere that he's wanted. It's like,
oh man,
throwing shade at the Broncos.
They're sure paying him like they want him there. And I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, with 3 touchdowns and the amount of money that Jerry Jeudy got, bro, good for you, man. That's the next jersey you'll see I should be wearing, man. I hope my work will pay me lots of money for underperforming and being underwhelming for a whole entire year or 3 years.
Or 3 years. No, dude, great move by the Broncos to move on from him. I think it was the right time. We're looking at because the big question was, what are they going to do? Are they going to look at moving on from Cortland Sutton or Jerry Jeudy? Maybe even both, because you have somebody like Tim Patrick who can bring in that experience and kind of that older mentality, right? But it kind of looks like for now we're sticking with Cortland Sutton, going to see what Tim Patrick can do, and I'm guessing try to bring in a whole bunch of blood through the draft.
I, of course, being the biggest advocate of Marvin Mims this year, was elated about more than anything about the Jerry Jeudy thing. It was just so difficult for me all year, and I don't know how many of these videos we can go back, and I was just absolutely complaining about everything, about why Marvin Mims, for the first 5 games a year, he was our number 1 receiver, and he played third, maybe not even, you say a third, maybe a fifth of the snaps. So you kind of knew that the writing was on the wall. I don't know if you paid a lot of attention during the combine time, but one of the things that Sean Payton said was, he flat out said, hey, Marvin Mims was played the exact same position as Jerry Jeudy, and Jerry just knew everything a little better. So so now that Jerry Jeudy is gone, we're hoping that those opportunities are going to go to Marvin. So another thing that Sean Payton said recently that he's excited to have Marvin Mims for is, of course, for the new for the new kickoff rules.
We're going to get to that in a second. When they were talking about it on the radio today and they were explaining it, and then they got to basically XFL kickoff rules. My first thought was, we got Marvin Mims. Holy shit.
Yeah.
We got Marvin Mims.
Oh, man.
Let that guy return it. Let him return it. Dude, I might, you know what? First bold prediction of the season here. 4 touchdown kickoff returns for Marvin Mims this year. 4.
Okay. I like it. I can dig on it. I'll be 100% honest with you. I don't fully understand the kickoff rules to this point to know if all of a sudden, in the XFL, were there more kickoff returns than by number? What's that number? Is that 10% more, 25% more,
So I don't know them. They weren't specific, and I'm just going to repeat what I heard off the radio today. And I saw a couple clips of XFL kickoffs that kind of made sense with the description. So if what I'm saying doesn't totally make sense to anyone out there, go find a video and hopefully it'll make more sense. So, and we'll get David in here. Good timing, David. Travis, I see your comment here. I'll definitely get to that in a little bit. Definitely want to talk about George Payton and his future. But before we get to kickoff discussions and me explaining it, David, how are you doing tonight, good sir?
David!
Sorry for getting the party letting you get the party started without, but I am here. I am happy to be talking Broncos with y'all. What is up?
Man.
Where are we in the conversation?
Kickoff
Perfect.
rule,
So perfect time, and we're just getting into explaining the kickoff rule. So here's what we got, guys. We know already if the kickoff goes out of bounds, just normally, that puts it at the 40-yard line, right? Same thing's going to apply if the ball is kicked out of the back of the end zone, okay? Other team will get the ball immediately at the 40-yard line. That is going to have a huge, impact on the number of returns alone, because you don't want to start, the other team is going to kick it in bounds. And then on top of that, there's a reception window. I can't remember exactly what that is, but I think it's within the 20, or maybe it's within the 15. Check me on this, guys. But if the receiver catches the ball in that window, they have to return it. They have to. They can't just kneel it or whatever the case and say, "Oh, it's at the it's at the 15. We'll just take it here." If they don't return it, if they kneel it or they don't return it, whatever the case is, they just wave it off or something. They get the ball at the 20. So there's an incentive for that team to actually return the ball, because they're not going to get it at the 25 like they used to. Okay.
I don't know, though.
I do know what they were.
Rules. There's two touchback rules. If it doesn't hit that 20-yard box or whatever, if it falls short, then you get a touchback to the 35. So that's weird.
Yeah. There's incentive for the team to actually return it, though, and that's the thing.
Yeah, I got 3 words for you guys: Marvin Mims season.
That's what I said. As soon as they were talking about it on the radio, my first thought was, we got Marvin Mims, and I made a prediction. I don't know if it's bold. I don't want to be too crazy with this, but my prediction, it's the first one of the season for me, David. 4 kickoff returns for Marvin Mims this year. 4.
I feel like we should be writing down these bold predictions, a la like TNT, NBA on TNT style. You get a sticky note, put it back there on that blank space behind you.
You don't see what I'm working with in front of me here. My workspace.
All those bold predictions all year.
I don't know, man. But I think, this is his second year. We saw what he could do. I already knew he was going to be better in the next year after this. But now teams cannot kick away from him. Yeah. Get him the ball. Let's see what happens.
I'm about it.
Yeah. Let's go, guys. Let's go. I am interested to see, they went out, they didn't let Will Lutz get away. And so now I'm going to be kind of excited to see what that turns into, because, last year, 83% of his kickoffs ended in touchbacks. So now we got to find out, is he the precision artist who can nail it without kicking it out of the back, or you're playing a dangerous game, because even if you nail it, one wrong bounce. So it's going to be interesting to see what the strategy is there.
There's going to be a learning curve. There will be,
not just for us but the referees. There's definitely going to be a screw up early in the season.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
Oh yeah. So preseason will be really interesting to watch, just to see how that unfolds and see kind of what strategies teams are putting together, what things they're testing, what's working, what's not working. Obviously don't expect to see Marvin Mims get too many chances during the preseason, I would think, just protect him from injury alone. But no, I think, just seeing the way, so the main collision between the two teams it's really a 10-yard difference, it's not like, so that's why they did this, guys, is because it's, it's still safety, because they're not like running at each other full speed from across the field. They only have about a 10-yard gap before they crash. But because of that, man, you make it past that first wave, there's not many people left behind them.
Yeah.
So I'm telling you, go watch some videos of XFL kickoffs to get an idea, and then picture Marvin Mims being the returner.
Right. Yeah.
It looks good. It looks good.
I really hope our special teams is good too, though, because, it'd be a very classic Broncos thing to give up a lot of yardage on this.
You're right. Yeah, you're right. You're right. But at least we saw our special teams come out and look really well coached last year. So hopefully they will be as as good as anybody in keeping up with the change. Andrew, nothing but love. Absolutely.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
trust me. Trust me.
Jared
if I was
short straw. So
no, I would be asking the same question if I was in your place and you were in mine, Andrew. So don't even worry about it. Bring back Jared. The boys we never left. We never left in your hearts.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
Always messaging each other. So
let's see.
I mean, we got a lot of free agency questions in there. I feel like we might as well jump into that because there's probably enough stuff to talk about in there.
For sure. So I think one of the first, other than Judy and Wilson, I think one of the next big names down the list was Josey Jewell. I think a tough one to let go, but I think also at the same time, again, going back to, okay, we're actually rebuilding this team. We have got to find some cap space to make any kind of move in free agency, anything, let alone, got to sign all the contracts for the draft, blah, 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 blah. I think it was okay. I love Josey Jewell. I think he's a great guy from what I can tell. I don't know him personally, but seems like a guy I could have a beer with, really hard player, but I think it's just one of those things that, hey, we got to move on and make some space. And he was just a cap casualty. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was going to say Simmons might be 3 on that list.
Simmons. Sorry. I'm still trying to come to grips.
Yeah, Andrew. I see Andrew coming. I'm like, yeah.
No, I look when Judy left, I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. When Wilson left, I was like, okay, whatever. When Justin Simmons left, I was like, are you fucking what? So I think I blocked that out of my memory. You're right. So we have somebody posted about Jewell first. We'll talk about him, but we'll definitely go back and talk about Justin Simmons for sure, who I'm surprised is not signed with the team. But any other comments on Josey Jewell leaving and kind of what that does for us there?
Honestly, though, I don't think it's that big of a deal for us. Josey was great. He had like 100 tackles for us this year, but his missed tackle percentage was astronomical. And of course, as we know, with the way that this year went, because of missed tackles and our inside linebacker position, we gave up 300 yards to the freaking Dolphins. So I think it's definitely we needed some new blood kind of. After we let go of Josey, we signed, I believe his name was Barton from the Commanders. Mm-hmm. So I'm curious to see that. He was another 100+ tackle guy. Obviously, we are in a situation where our division, we might need somebody to be a cover linebacker eventually. We might be looking at that in other free agency or the draft. So Josey, loved having him with us. The one thing that last thing I'll mention about Josey leaving is that whole entire draft class that Josey was on is now none of those players are on the team again. I'm just saying we're notorious at this point for at least since good old John was our general manager. We have entire draft classes that are not with the team anymore.
Yeah, David, what you got? Because I have no words for that other than just wow.
I mean, all I've got to say about Josey Jewell is that he got $10 million guaranteed from the Panthers, and good luck to you, pal. Absolutely. But that was never going to be a number that he was going to hit in Denver, and I would have been upset, honestly, with the cap space the way it is if they had given him $10 million guaranteed. So, that's all I got to say about that.
The cap thing, let's talk about that's crazy. Yeah, that's the last thing I have to say.
Yeah. Let's bounce into the cap thing, okay? And I'll preface it with my Justin Simmons discussion. We'll use it as a way to lead into the cap discussion for me. I get it, Andrew. I get it. What was Simmons? I need to look at Simmons' cap hit this year if he had stayed with the Broncos. But it was going to be high.
Yeah,
something like that. Yeah. Was set to count for $18.25 million against the cap. Guys, I love Justin Simmons. Justin Simmons is a Bronco forever in here. All right.
He'll retire as a Bronco.
Absolutely. And I know this all comes out of the Russell Wilson decision. I don't want to, blame Russell Wilson personally because he's not a Bronco anymore. I don't have to think about him anymore. That's fine. But I will say it all flowed out of this, and they decided to take as much of that cap hit this year as they could. Even though they were spreading it over 2 years, they took the much bigger hit this year, and to do that, you had to make sacrifices. And to be honest, when you look at this team up and down the roster, does anybody in the chat really think we were going to compete for a Super Bowl this year? Especially once they made that decision to cut Russ. No. And I don't think anybody and I don't think anybody in the comments, if you guys look yourselves in the mirror, I don't think you think the Broncos are competing for a Super Bowl this upcoming year either. So your question then becomes, are you going to, in the cap situation that you're in, pay? All right, Andrew. All right. Bless you, buddy.
I know. I saw it.
Okay.
Eternal optimist.
Yeah, absolutely. And bless you for it. We need more of you. But if we're going to live on planet Earth, Justin Simmons' cap number was never going to work on a team in a stage that this team is in this year. And that was just the bottom line. And I think we haven't seen him come to a team yet because I think he just wants to go somewhere where he's going to win, where he's going to go to the playoffs for the first time in his career. And he's just waiting to see which of those opportunities are right for him. And I hope he makes it. God, I'll be rooting for whatever team Justin Simmons ends up on if he's in the postseason.
100%.
Unless it's the Chiefs.
Right. No. And I don't think he would do that.
Okay. I don't want to. He wouldn't do that to us. No, he would. No, I got to believe that Justin Simmons would be like, I'm not doing that to my fans. Like, just no. Justin, if you're still watching us, I know you're not with the team anymore, but I know you always did when you were a Bronco. Just like all of the Broncos, it's like part of their first day, when they go to the Broncos, it's like, here's Bourbon Broncos and OBS. And look, we love you, man. Don't hurt us. Don't do that to us.
Yeah, go to someone
we've been in enough pain over the last 8 years. We don't need any more.
Yeah, 100%. But just one thing I would say though about Sean Payton. I know I've talked a lot about Sean Payton this year, and David, you kind of spoke on this. Whatever team he's on, and if they're in a bad spot in cap space, for some reason or somehow, he always ends up getting himself in a much better spot. I don't know if you guys remember a couple of years ago, the Saints were like negative $100 million. And the next thing you know, they were positive. I don't understand it. I understand 97.5% of football, but that 2.5% is all about the salary cap.
It's all cap.
It's fake money. There's some genius sitting in a room somewhere that's just calculating on how to make money available, because now the Broncos are projected for $100 million in excess of the cap next year. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Right.
Whatever they're feeding that guy in that dank dark room to figure out that mathematics, good for him. Good job, buddy.
Well, but that's a really good point, Spotty, because, man, so the Dak Prescott stuff came up today, right? You guys are up to date on this. Okay, so we don't have to run it. But so I'm not necessarily saying I'm for or against going after Dak Prescott in free agency next year. But if you want to do that, now you've got the cap space to do it, and you're not mortgaging your future. And, you have all this flexibility now. Or if you draft a quarterback and you want to sign a bunch of free agents so you have a team around him, then you can do that too. You have all this flexibility now because you took as much of that Russell Wilson hit this year as you could.
Well, you got to remember too, guys, something we weren't expecting happened in that the NFL cap increase this year was much larger than anybody was anticipating. I think normally it's around 16, 17% or something like that. This time it was upwards of over 21, 22%. Either way, it was $30 million. Okay. And that was just way higher than anyone was expecting. So that was a huge relief for us. I think you would have seen at least one other really consequential and probably painful cut just due to cap space if that hadn't happened. So we got lucky there, but here we go. Dak, no. But the point is, we have that option.
Right.
We have an option. Right. We can consider it before immediately going, we can't afford it.
Fair. Geez. Now, have we talked about the quarterback situation yet?
No, we
No,
saved that. We saved that for you, just to be
if you
here.
want to know,
I love you guys.
You're-
I love you guys so much.
going back a little bit, why am I looking old? Spotty, I don't know why you're looking younger. Not only am I tired, but the quarterback situation is giving me gray hair.
Yeah, give you extra
Honestly.
grace.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
fair
It's from the fact we don't have a quarterback right now. And don't say Stidham.
Listen, here's what I'm going to say about that, Kevin, and I get it. I understand because it's Jarrett Stidham. It's Jarrett Stidham. But
Jared Stidham.
let's put this is the way I think about it. If you get past the Kirk Cousins level of quarterback free agents, which included one member, and that was Kirk Cousins, there was nobody else in the entire quarterback landscape who was going to be free this year who was going to take this Denver Broncos roster to the playoffs. And so to me,
completely agreed. Yeah.
That indicates in my mind, that translates to it literally doesn't matter if you go into the season with Jarrett Stidham versus Sam Darnold at that point. There was this couple of 48 hours or whatever where like the Broncos might have signed Sam Darnold, where all of Broncos Twitter was just like, oh man, we got a shot at Sam Darnold. And I'm like, guys,
what are we doing
Darnold?
Here? What are we doing?
What
Did we
world
really
am I
reach
living
this
in?
point?
Find excitement in anything.
And this is where I'm like, all right, guys, if we're really trying to tell ourselves that Sam Darnold is the level of quarterback that we want, while Jimmy Garoppolo is the kind that we could never accept, when both of these players are essentially on the same level to me, like it doesn't. This is what I'm trying to say. It doesn't matter, Broncos country. After Kirk, and it was never going to be Kirk Cousins. Let's be clear about that. It was never going to be Kirk Cousins. So after that,
good Lord, no.
None of the other. Yeah, absolutely. None of the other quarterbacks who are on a new team this offseason are going to lead that team to the Super Bowl. I feel incredibly confident of that. So why pick up a guy who might win you 7 games and get you
for sure
the 14th pick when you could roll with the guy you have, pay nothing extra, and just accept that your team wasn't ready to compete for a playoff spot this year anyway.
Yeah, I think the biggest beef for me about it all is the fact that our prospects in the draft don't look fantastic now either, right? Like we know that this is quote unquote one of the best quarterback drafts in the last, I don't know how many years, right? They usually come around every 4 years or so. And now that there's a lot more quarterback needy teams before 12, or even teams that were behind us now that have the ability to jump up, I just kind of in my head, I'm like, okay, do we come into the season with Jarrett Stidham? Are we kind of just waving the white? I feel like that's more or less waving the white flag for the 2024 season than it is to show that. I mean, they said it. Management and Sean said that they are going to put a competitive team on the field, right? So when they give us that kind of message, we expect them or hope for them to make some kind of move to kind of maybe put a little pep in our step. They say they still want to try to make the playoffs. Okay, well, Jarrett Stidham is not the person who's going to take us to the playoffs. And I know somebody mentioned in the comments about like Ryan Tannehill. I'm gonna go ahead and go out on a limb and say that there's not a free agent quarterback that is available right now that would take this Broncos. Forget the Super Bowl. They're the playoffs. I'm not sure if there's a free agent quarterback that you're right. There may not be that much better than Jared. I mean, we're talking about probably, I bet you if we brought in a free agent quarterback, a veteran, the Broncos number in Vegas for wins would increase by a game. I bet you that's all. Like, I think we're at 5.5 right now. So that means they're going to increase to 6.5.
Right. Agreed. So I think, at that point, what do? I don't think they're going to ride into the season with Stidham. I don't think they're going to. And I swear, if anybody watching this show right now on any of my shows moving forward, seriously and meaningfully post suck for Sanders, I'm blocking you from the page. I'm just permanently banning you. Okay. We're not, people are talking about it. I'm like, no, because I don't think they're doing that. I think, what Broncos country is, what they recognize is Broncos tradition of being a winning organization you don't, even during a rebuild, you don't totally just wave the white flag like that. So I think that's where you're going to see going through the draft and getting a draft round one quarterback, and whether they move up or not. There's all these rumors going around right now. We can talk about what we think is going to happen, but I think the Broncos are in a position where they have options. They could trade up. That would mean giving up more draft capital that we basically just got back. They could stay where they are and probably still get one of their top quarterback options. Maybe not their number one, but a top one. But if you don't do that, then you are waving the white flag for this season. And I just don't see them doing that. So I think that's the only thing you're going to look at is it's not what position are the Broncos going to select in round one. It's what quarterback are they going to select in round one.
Well, see, I'm not entirely with you on that, Kev Dan. I think the draft has some scenarios. I think there's definitely some things that could happen here.
And before you get into that, you're good. Everybody here is going to want to make sure on draft night they tune in for our live coverage.
Yeah, definitely. We'll be there.
We'll be live from the start all the way through the Broncos pick, even if they trade down into day 2.
That's like a month out. We are almost a month out.
I think it's
ready
25th.
for it, guys.
Yeah. So
go with it, David.
Well, okay, you've got pick 12, right? To trade up at this point, you're looking to get to 4, and at that point, you're only going to do it if the guy that you want is the fourth quarterback still on the board is the guy that you wanted the whole time, right? I think that Sean Payton would probably execute a trade for 2 or 3 guys, maybe in this class, but I'm just guessing. This is completely a guess. Sean Payton has been as close to the vest with anybody in this draft process. I think that's why you hear all of these people talk about Denver like as a dark horse to trade up and things like that, because they don't know. They have heard nothing, I don't think, in the way of real facts. So to me, if they trade up to 4 with the Arizona Cardinals, I think they're going to trade them Pat Surtain. I think that's what's going to happen, guys. Like, honestly, I think that's the most reasonable scenario, that Pat Surtain gets bundled in a pick, because they just don't have the ammo otherwise. Like, even if you put next year's first round pick in, you don't have a second round pick this year. You don't have a high third pick this year. It's just, So I think that would be the route they go if they were going to trade up. More realistically, I think they'll end up trading down. That would be my hope. If they get to the late 20s, or even like all the way down to the second round in the early 30s. And if you could draft a guy like Bo Nix, who I think, at least from the tape study, fits in a Sean Payton offense really well. And at least that way you've acquired some more draft capital either this year or next year. You haven't sold the farm for a quarterback. So if Nix doesn't show you something in year 1, you don't feel bad about going after another one, potentially really high in the draft next year if somebody catches your eye. The third option is just take the best player available at 12, see how the board falls to you there. It would probably be an offensive lineman or a pass rusher in that regard. And I don't hate either of those picks for the Broncos. Honestly, they could use reserves in both spots. But I think in order of likelihood, I think trade up is probably number 3 on that list of possibilities. What do you think, Spotty?
Well, now I'm gonna sound stupid because that's all the things I wanted to say, David. So I guess they say.
My problem, guys, is that I didn't go with bourbon tonight. I had this wine left over, and it's just making me extra chatty. I'm sorry about that.
I will say that you drinking your wine fits with your very random background very nicely.
I like that. It's like
picture, just one in this very nice golden frame of this boat that just doesn't seem like you. Like it just it seems like something Jared would have in his background.
No, this is the background from now on too. If you guys want me to, I'll go into a deep dive on how I've been on this ship. But we're really here to talk about Broncos, so I'm just gonna move it back over here and toss it back to Spotty.
You see, we said we wanted David because he brings in
exactly
to our show. So you'll have to see that earlier, David. We said that. To go what you said, David, I actually 100% agree with you. I do believe the most likely option for the Broncos is trading down in this draft. Now, I do think there's the possibility at that 12 spot of doing somebody like a pass rusher, offensive lineman. And then, of course, there are later quarterbacks in this draft because at this point, we're looking at, I mean, it's all, it's crazy because it's all going to depend on what happens in the first 5 picks, right? Yeah. We're looking at the possibility of 4 quarterbacks going in the fight, in those top 5 picks. And, those rumors are going to be talking every week. Now, J.J. McCarthy is a possible the number 2 quarterback being taken after Caleb Williams. But I do believe that Caleb, J.J., Jaden McDaniels, and Drake May will all be gone before the 12th spot. So I don't think the Broncos giving up Pat Surtain is actually going to really help them out that much because I know some of these teams that are at the top, they realize that they're going to have to pay Pat as well. And today, Jadarius Sneed just signed a contract for $21.9 million. And what we know about Pat Surtain that his contract is probably going to be even greater than that. So I'm not actually sure that there's going to be a lot of teams that are going to jump at that are in the top 10 of the draft. I know that when like AJ Brown and all those players got drafted prior, that was like one more piece that another team needed just to be that much to get closer to the Super Bowl. Those top 10 teams, they need a lot more than Pat Surtain. So I'm not real sure that's going to end up being an option for us. So I do believe though that the Michael Penix and the Bo Nixes are falling in this draft. And if we can go for someone at 12, a Jared Verse or a Turner from Alabama, get ourselves a premier pass rusher that we've been missing since we traded away Bradley Chubb. Then we can maybe look to trade up in the draft into the second round since we don't have a second round pick to possibly go after a quarterback to compete with Jared.
Well, so here you go, D-Rock. How you doing, man? It kind of answers the question of what you were just saying. Yeah, not necessarily going for a team's backup quarterback. I think if, things do fall apart in the first round there, yeah, you'd still have some options. And really it comes down to is, does Sean Payton believe that player can fit into a system? We saw what happened last year when when Sean Payton tried to get Russ to fit into his system and Russ was just not able to. Then they had to adjust. We did go on that 5-game win streak where, we kind of adjusted more to Russ's system, but that's not what we're paying Sean Payton the big bucks for. This is his system. We need to find a guy that fits in his system. And so as long as he can confidently say that he thinks that'll do it, then, if we can trade up into the second round to get one of those guys that are still there, I think that's a very doable option. You're right. Let's see. What other thoughts on the draft you guys have? What else are you looking for? Maybe not even quarterback. What else do the Broncos need that you'd like us to? Well, we need a lot, but what would you like us to see us go get?
I am actually excited with the possibility of trading back to get extra draft capital because I'm telling you what, one of the most exciting parts about this draft might be the wide receiver class. And I'm just like, we talk about these guys and we saw during the combine, right, that we love speed. All these teams love speed. So they're going to end up drafting some of these speedy wide receivers super high. And there's going to be a big body guy that's going to be in these later in this draft. So like a Kenyon Coleman from Florida State or an Xavier Legette from South Carolina, guys that are 6'3", 6'4", that not only are they got speed or they got height, but they got speed. Like, I know we don't really need a 50-50 guy anymore, but still we definitely need somebody else. I know. But we hope that Tim Patrick is healthy, right? But just like last year, our depth at wide receiver was bad. But then there's little possession guys like Landon McConkey, Roman Wilson from and then Pearsall from Florida, like all these guys that I just think that the options of adding more weapons in the wide receiver room is very good for us to put like a guy who's later in the draft and it could end up being an integral part to the offense.
Yeah. Watch if you guys are watching for potential Broncos wide receivers. Look on the tape for guys who block. That's what Sean Payton's going to want from his wide receivers. So, look out for blockers.
Luke McCaffrey.
Get another McCaffrey in a Broncos uniform? Come on.
Couldn't hurt. Heck, find a way to get his brother over too, as well.
I think he's in a much better spot.
Yeah.
You might like it where he is.
Jeez.
All right. What about
look, guys. That's exactly where I was going to go next. Guys, the draft is a month away. Again, you can see us scrolling at the bottom of the screen. We'll be live during the draft. Make sure first round of the draft. Make sure you tune in. We have some good times. Might have some guests. We'll see whatnot. We'll plan something fun, but either way, it'll be a good time. So make sure you're there. Broncos uniform changes. It's all the hype right now. Nobody really knows what to expect. Obviously, we've seen a lot of mock-ups and fan designs and whatnot. Really what we know is same colors, total redesign of the uniform itself. That's pretty much all we've been told by like Mike Kliss and stuff like that. So sorry, David. I know you were really wanting the baby powder blue, soft looking,
right.
Like
I don't know what this soft commentary is. I'm just saying that's
when I look at baby blue, I don't think of like a manly, tough color.
Well, that's your stereotypes and prejudices. That's not necessarily reflective of the public at large. I think the Seahawks have a very similar shade of blue. The Oilers uniforms that are throwbacks. That's an even lighter shade.
I'm not intimidated. I'm just you guys.
All right, but you're really gonna look me in the eye and tell me those uniforms aren't fire, Kevin.
Oh,
Kevin.
Geez.
Okay. Well,
anyway, no.
Yeah. Obviously, Broncos Country.
Nice. I just want to give you shit.
No, they were never going to change back to those uniforms full time.
Right.
However, it does still stand a good possibility that they will make this an actual like a throwback alternate uniform, and that I'm really, really excited for. I think that's going to happen.
Yeah.
So stay tuned. Well, uniform changes coming, guys.
Because the league also helps to vote on that, and on the docket would have been the Broncos' old like yellow jerseys,
the yellow and brown.
They
right, good old yellow.
On the table. I'm sure
that was on the table, and they said no. So that's some of the news. I think what's interesting too is that they're going to change the way that the stripes are done on the jerseys. So now that we can't have those really weird mixtures of the blue tops and the white bottoms and the stripes don't match on them. Yeah, I don't know if anybody really remembers how that was an issue for like 2 weeks. People were like, let's not do this. So that'd be really interesting, and that they're talking about integrating mountains and 5280 in there. As someone who's also a Denver Nuggets fan, the Nuggets do that a lot, and sometimes it's just overblown and they try to get too creative. So hoping this is kind of going to be like low key instead of looking like an XFL jersey.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you look at the other sports teams in Colorado, they all have mountains and stuff in. Like that's just
the Rockies jerseys are terrible. The ones off the license.
Yeah, but their logo still has mountains in it and stuff. Like just everybody incorporates it. So it's just going to be cool to have the Broncos also finding ways to incorporate that, just because it is kind of what Colorado is known for, So,
and I don't think, at least, ear to the ground, and take this with a grain of salt because it could be absolutely nothing. But I don't think it's going to be like ridiculously gaudy mountains. Like I don't think you're going to see like mountains go across the chest in a big stripe or anything like that. I personally don't hate the idea of mountains like on the sleeves, or in place of like like a stripe or something like that. There are some people who are just against the concept of having mountains on the uniform in any way, and I don't really understand that. It's such an iconic. They can't stop showing it on TV every time you have a game here. They go to some mountain town or show a shot of the sunset over the mountains. Like just lean into it just a little bit. Not a lot, but a little.
Just a little.
I think the orange could be a little brighter. So, like, obviously, I'm wearing what the normal. I think this kind of like, not entirely what Kev Dan's hat looks like, but just a little, not like an orange soda kind of thing, but definitely like a little more brighter of an orange. I think that just something a little
closer to the color rush.
Yeah,
a little closer to the color rush.
Yeah,
makes sense to me. One thing that I have seen that I really, really liked was they've got the three options: orange jersey, a blue jersey, and a white jersey. This is just one mock-up, and they went with the white helmets with the current logo. But they had different color face masks depending on which uniform they were going to go with.
That's what I'm looking for right now.
Orange, blue, or white. And yeah, I thought that was really, really interesting. I think that would be a really cool thing to do if they did that.
Yeah. See, I just the white helmets in general. Those are going to have to grow on me.
Okay.
Those are just going to have to grow on me. I don't hate it, like the snow capped, like what they did. I think it's great for a twice a year kind of a thing. I just don't know if I want to see them in that every. I mean, I don't have they didn't call me and ask me. I think they probably lost my number or something. But if and when they call me to ask personally, directly, my opinion of it all, that's probably the biggest thing of all of it. Where I'm like, that one just is going to have to take some time to get used to.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, fair enough. I think you're right. I get it. It's to me. See, if you're going to go white helmet, the stripe is what's going to make it, right? The stripe could make or break a white helmet in this case.
They're taking the stripes off the helmets.
Can't do that if it's just pure white and the Bronco logo.
I can't have it. No, I can't have it. I got to have a little something else. I got to have a stripe.
I'm right there with you.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah. We'll see.
Blazed orange.
We'll see. It's going to probably be. I mean, it's probably going to be here before the draft, right?
Yeah. I'm guessing in the next 2 weeks. They're probably going to want to increase sales before the draft. Yeah.
Yeah. The Texans flexed early, so I think 2 weeks ago they mentioned and they dropped a teaser of what their new jerseys are going to look like. So I think, just like you said, they want probably that jersey that's going to be on the stage. I don't know who said it in the group chat. They probably want it to be, the Broncos' new jersey.
Yeah, definitely. And we've already seen the hats. Those draft hats look pretty good this year.
Yeah, they do.
They're simple.
I'm not a big fan of the black, all the hats.
But they have orange. You have an orange option as well.
Oh, I didn't see the orange option. So
yeah.
But I just saw that because they always put like the the top one at the top, and
top one.
I'm like, it's not really our team color, So I hate when we go about that.
Right. Yeah, fair enough.
Now, there's an orange option for everyone there. If you don't like what they're mostly advertising is the gray or the blackish one, go to the website and on any of those main sports apparel websites, there's an orange option as well. Same design, just the orange, kind of like this. So it'll be interesting,
with the 5280
guys.
On there, notably.
On the side. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that's, that might be already a little bit of a preview of how they integrated into the uniform somewhere. Again, I think it'll probably be pretty small.
Think about that.
A small part of the uniform. Yeah. That's probably what it'll look like on the main uniform.
Interesting. We might already have a little piece of it like right in front of us. Okay.
Yeah.
Look, as long as it makes them win more games, I don't care too much at the end of the day.
Yeah,
fair enough.
Right.
Yeah, sure.
That's how it works.
That's it. That's like it. The power of laundry.
Power of laundry. Well, hey, let's start getting some closing comments, guys. Again, really appreciate you tuning in. I know there's been a lot of things happening around the league, since the end of the Super Bowl. Go back, and if you missed the first part of the show, we talked about Russell Wilson leaving. We talked about other free agents leaving. We talked about the kickoff rule change. We talked about the draft. So we covered a lot of topics tonight, guys. I think there's, next season is going to be interesting, but, while it may not be pretty, I think it's going to potentially lay the groundwork and be just a really important year for how the Broncos look down the line and get us to the point we want to be. So I'm excited for that reason alone. But Spotty, what do you got, good sir?
I just kind of sit back and I look at the moves that we made, and I feel like there's just a lot more moves that we haven't made just yet. The most important position on the field is up in the air for us, which is always disheartening. We do this so much. I actually think now that the strongest position on the team might be the offensive line. David, I know you mentioned that you want to see us draft there, but the offensive line might be the strongest position. And all those guys were willing to reconstruct their deals, except for Garrett Bowles. I don't know why we didn't. but every single one of those guys reconstructed their deal. But now we also have a hole in the middle of the line. So one player who definitely took a lot of flack over the last couple of years, but definitely was probably one of the better players for us, Lloyd Cushenberry, going somewhere else. I want to say thanks to him because we'll definitely get a nice complimentary draft pick because of the amount of money that he signed with from the Titans. So It's weird to have a hole there, but this truly is the restart. We've pressed that button. It's not going to get any easier from here on out. And I hope that the Broncos have broken their curse when it comes to drafting quarterbacks, and whoever the next quarterback that, of course, that's if we draft a quarterback, which I think we'd be crazy not to. I hope this quarterback is the next quarterback to take us to the playoffs, considering that the last quarterback that we drafted to take us to the playoffs, Tim Tebow. So yeah. I'm hoping we break that curse. I'm hoping we fill the important hole on this team, and I'm hopefully in this for a very long time.
Yeah.
You guys know what I think about it. I've said it 20 times. I'm not changing my theory. So
yeah. And well, so in my closing thoughts are going to be kind of along the lines of Spotty's, but I just want to say it to Broncos Country because it's gonna be kind of a pain to hear it, but guys, it's time to embrace the suck.
Yep.
It's to embrace the suck for 2024. Realize right now, in this moment, in late March, that when you get to September and October and November, watching Broncos games is not going to be fun. Guys, it's not going to be a great pastime. We're going to be here. We're going to give you content every single week because we love this and we're maniacs and we love you. Thank you. Don't forget to like and subscribe. You've got to like and subscribe because, guys, we're going to be here whether you like and subscribe or not. And if you're not watching, it just gets sad.
We're just talking to each other,
Right. Yeah, that's fair enough. So just, we've been experiencing the suck without embracing it for 8 solid years or whatever, right? So just this one time, guys, lean into it because it finally feels like we're all aligned. It feels like management and coaching are aligned on we're embracing the suck. We're stripping it down and starting over with the roster that we want. And it's time to do it, guys. It's going to suck for this 1 year, but it's been sucking for all the other years when we were trying to be competitive. So let's actually get on the path to being competitive, right?
Yeah. No, good points, because for so many years when John Elway was in charge, you're always just 1 or 2 players away. So every year it was, okay, we're going to do it this year. And then, it fades out, right? Last year was fun. 5-game win streak. Great. Loved it. I am going to try to not lose years off my life expectancy from the stress I get from watching games this year. Okay, let's try to enjoy it, like David's saying. Let's just have some fun with it this year. There's like no expectations really on us. Like, don't go in expecting the Broncos to get in the playoffs, even win a playoff game. Like, if something happens, let's say whatever quarterback we get and it just everything clicks, great, okay, but that's a long shot, right? So let's just have some fun. Come back to these shows. We'll keep having fun, making some jokes, having some good times. They'll call me short and I'll call them goofy looking or whatever lame comeback I come up with at the moment. And it'll be fun. It'll be good, guys.
You know what we do. You know what we do. It's beautiful.
It's beautiful. So, yeah, guys. And, hopefully by the next time you see us, I'll have the new intro video built. Couldn't play it tonight because essentially nobody on the team that's in the video, or anybody that's in the video, is no longer on the team. So
right, I mean, honestly,
that I think that would have started off the show in more of a sad note, like, oh, he's gone, he's gone.
Like the Oscars in memoriam, except a little less sad because they're not dead. They're just
there. You go.
You're somewhere else.
Yep.
So, well, hey, thanks, guys. I appreciate it. We'll probably not be back until the draft, but as we get closer to that, we'll start pushing out some announcements. Just plan on us being here one way or the other. Draft night, we'll be live no later than the start of it, as when it kicks off all the way through the Broncos picks. So appreciate you guys tuning in. Seriously, guys, have a good rest of your night. Have a good few weeks or whatever the case is. And I think there's nothing else to say other than this, as we always do. Very strong. Go Broncos!
Broncos.
Take care, guys.
Do what I like, yeah, I do what I like, yeah, I do what I like. Sipping goose, if it's right, and I go with the flow, yeah, I go with the flow, yeah, I go with the flow, cause I know I'm the show. In the zone, here I go, in the zone, here I go, in